I stood behind a marble pillar in the Westfield shopping centre, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. 20 feet away, my mother-in-law, Patricia, was laughing that high-pitched, delighted laugh she reserved for when she was getting exactly what she wanted. Her arm was linked through a younger woman's arm, someone I'd never seen before. They were at the jewellery counter, and Patricia was holding up a diamond bracelet to the light, watching it sparkle. The credit card in her hand was mine. Well, technically it was hers. I'd added her as an authorized user 6 months ago. But I paid the bill. Every single charge came straight from my account. I watched the younger woman lean in and say something that made Patricia throw her head back with laughter. They looked comfortable together. Familiar. Like old friends. Except I'd never heard Patricia mention this person. Not once. The woman couldn't have been older than 28. She had long dark hair and wore a white sundress that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. Patricia handed her phone to the woman so she could take a photo of them together at the jewellery counter. The woman angled the phone, smiled, and clicked. That's when I saw it. Just for a second, as she turned the phone back around to show Patricia the photo, I caught a glimpse of her lock screen. The image was small from where I stood, but I knew that face. I knew that smile. I'd been looking at that face across the dinner table for 3 years. Garrett. My husband. Kissing this woman. My knees went weak. I grabbed the pillar to steady myself. This wasn't possible. Except it was. Because suddenly, everything from the past 3 weeks clicked into place like puzzle pieces I'd been too blind to see. 3 weeks ago, Garrett sent me a text at 2 a.m. I was still at the office finishing a quarterly report. The text said, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Last night was amazing." I'd been at the office the night before too, working late. Again. When I asked him about it the next morning, he claimed his phone had auto-corrected something weird, that he'd meant to text his buddy from college about their gym session. It was a terrible lie, but I wanted to believe it. I needed to believe it. So I did. But I also started paying attention. I noticed the cologne he only wore on date nights suddenly appearing on random Tuesdays. I noticed he'd changed his phone password. I noticed the way he angled his screen away from me when he texted. Small things. Things I told myself I was imagining because I was stressed about work. Then I checked our credit card statements. Dinner at Bellini's, a restaurant I'd been wanting to try for months, but Garrett always said was too expensive. A charge at Victoria's Secret for $140. I don't wear Victoria's Secret. I asked him about it. He said he bought his mum a gift card for her birthday. Patricia's birthday was in March. This charge was in August. I started checking the statements every day. Charges at restaurants I'd never been to. A weekend hotel in wine country, when Garrett told me he was at a construction site inspection. Flowers from an expensive florist, none of which ever made it to our house. But I needed proof. Real proof. Not just suspicious charges and a gut feeling that was eating me alive from the inside out. So I set a trap. 6 months ago, Patricia had called me crying. Actual tears. She said she couldn't afford her medications and her rent in the same month. Could we help? Just this once? Garrett looked at me with those puppy dog eyes he inherited from her. His mother was struggling. What kind of people would we be if we didn't help family? I made $60,000 more a year than Garrett. I'd always made more. It bothered him, though he pretended it didn't. So when family needed money, I was expected to provide it, quietly, without making him feel small. I opened a separate credit card and added Patricia as an authorized user. $1,500 limit. I told her it was for emergencies and essentials only: groceries, medications, gas. She promised she'd be careful with it. She promised she wouldn't take advantage. The first month, the charges were reasonable. Grocery store, pharmacy, gas station. I barely looked at the statements. By month 3, I started seeing charges at department stores, clothing boutiques, restaurants, a spa. When I mentioned it to Garrett, he defended her. She worked hard her whole life. She deserved to treat herself sometimes. Didn't I want her to be happy? I let it go. I always let things go. But last week, I was reviewing the statement and saw a charge for $370 at a boutique called Azure. I recognized the name. It was in this mall. The same day as that charge, Garrett had texted me that he was working late. Site emergency. Don't wait up. I checked Patricia's Facebook. She thinks her account is private, but she never actually changed her settings. There was a photo posted that day, tagged at Azure Boutique. Patricia was holding up a blue dress, grinning. In the background, reflected in a mirror, I could see someone else. A woman with dark hair and distinctive rings on her fingers, 3 delicate gold bands on her right hand. I'd seen those rings before. 2 days earlier, Garrett left his laptop open on the kitchen counter. When I walked by, a photo was on the screen. Him and a dark-haired woman at a restaurant. Before I could look closer, he slammed it shut and got angry at me for snooping. But I'd seen the hands in that photo. The same 3 gold rings. That's when I knew. Patricia wasn't just aware of the affair. She was facilitating it, befriending her, taking her shopping on my money. The rage that went through me was white hot and ice cold at the same time. I could have confronted Garrett right then. Could have screamed and cried and thrown things. But I didn't, because I wanted more than just the truth. I wanted them to face consequences, real ones. So I came up with a plan. I started following Patricia's social media obsessively. Every post, every check-in, every tagged location. Yesterday, she posted that she was treating herself to a shopping day with her favorite person at Westfield. Heart emoji. Shopping bag emoji. I called in sick to work this morning for the first time in 2 years. I drove to the mall. I waited. And now here I was, watching my mother-in-law try on expensive jewelry with my husband's mistress, using the credit card I gave her out of kindness. They moved to the cash register. The saleswoman started ringing up items. A bracelet, a necklace, 2 pairs of earrings. I watched the total climb on the screen. $412. Patricia handed over my card with a confident smile. The saleswoman swiped it. Transaction approved. They giggled like teenagers and moved to the next store. Designer handbags. The mistress tried on a cream-colored leather bag that cost $800. Patricia nodded enthusiastically and pointed at another bag for herself. I followed them through 3 more stores. The total in my head kept climbing. They were completely oblivious. At one point, I was close enough to hear their conversation. "Garrett is so lucky to have you," Patricia said. "You actually appreciate him. You make him feel like a man." My hands were shaking. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. They headed into a high-end clothing store, the kind with individual sales associates and champagne. The mistress pulled dresses off racks while Patricia nodded and approved. They took armfuls into the dressing room. 15 minutes later, they emerged with a pile of clothes. The associates started scanning tags. The total climbed. 600, 1,200, 2,000, 28, 47. Patricia pulled out my credit card with a flourish. She handed it to the associate like a queen bestowing a favor. The woman swiped it. I pulled up the card management screen. My finger hovered over. Report card lost. Stolen. Deactivate immediately. The associate swiped again. I pressed the button. The card reader beeped. Not the usual approval beep. A different sound. An error. The sales associate's smile flickered. "Let me try that again," she said, swiping once more. Another beep. Declined. Patricia's eyebrows pulled together. "That's strange. Can you try entering it manually?" I edged closer, pretending to browse a rack of scarves near the register. My heart was pounding so hard I thought they might hear it. The associate typed in the numbers carefully. Her computer screen flashed red. "I'm sorry, ma'am. This card is being declined. Do you have another form of payment?" Patricia's face went from confused to annoyed in seconds. "That's impossible. There's plenty of credit on that card. Try it again." "I've tried 3 times, ma'am. It's definitely declining." The associate's voice had that careful professional tone people use when they think you might cause a scene. The mistress, I still didn't know her name, touched Patricia's arm. "It's okay. We can just come back another time." "No." Patricia's voice was sharp. "There's clearly a mistake. Let me call the card company." She pulled out her phone right there at the register. "Put it on speaker." The automated system asked her to enter the card number. Then it transferred her to a representative. "Yes, hello. My card was just declined and I need to know why." There should be plenty of credit available. Patricia's voice was loud. Too loud. Other shoppers were starting to glance over. Let me check that for you, ma'am. Can you verify the last 4 digits? Patricia read them off. A pause. Yes, I see the issue. This card was reported lost or stolen approximately 3 minutes ago by the primary account holder. It's been deactivated for security purposes. Patricia's face went pale, then red. What? Who the primary account holder? You mean my daughter-in-law? I can't discuss details, ma'am. But yes, the account holder deactivated this card. You'll need to contact them directly to resolve this. This is ridiculous. She gave me this card. She can't just cancel it without telling me. The representative's voice remained calm and professional. The primary account holder has the right to deactivate any authorized user cards at any time, ma'am. Is there anything else I can help you with today? Patricia hung up without responding. Her hand was shaking. She turned to the mistress, and her voice got higher, more frantic. I cannot believe her. This is exactly the kind of controlling, vindictive thing she would do. She's always been like this with money, always holding it over us, making sure we know she's in charge. The mistress looked increasingly uncomfortable. Patricia, maybe we should just… No! You don't understand what I've had to put up with. 3 years of her acting like she's better than us because she makes more money. 3 years of her making my son feel inadequate in his own marriage. She works constantly, barely comes to family dinners, and then has the nerve to judge how I spend. Patricia stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes had landed on something behind the sales associate. Or rather, someone. Me. I stepped forward from the scarf display. Our eyes locked. For a moment, nobody spoke. The mistress followed Patricia's gaze and turned around. When she saw me, her face went completely white. Hi, Patricia, I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected. Having a nice shopping day. Patricia opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. What are you doing here? Shopping. Same as you. I shifted my gaze to the younger woman. We haven't met. I'm the daughter-in-law Patricia was just telling you about. The controlling, vindictive one. The mistress's lips trembled. She looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Turned the screen so they could both see it. These are the charges from today. Before I cancelled the card. $342 at Nordstrom. $412 at the jewelry store. $608 at Saks. And now this $2,847 worth of clothes. I looked at Patricia. For a card I gave you for emergencies and essentials, groceries, medicine. Remember? Patricia's mouth worked, but no sound came out. I turned to the mistress. You must be the receptionist from Garrett's office. The one he said was just a kid who brings him coffee sometimes. 28 years old, right? Hardly a kid. Her face confirmed everything. How long have you two been shopping together? I asked, my voice conversational, almost friendly. The charges go back at least 4 months. Restaurants, boutiques, spa days, all on my credit card. While you, I looked at the mistress, were sleeping with my husband. And you, I turned to Patricia, were helping hide it. Now wait just a minute, Patricia started. No. The word came out harder than I intended. You wait. You called me controlling? Vindictive. Let me tell you what's actually vindictive, Patricia. Vindictive is taking money from someone while actively helping destroy their marriage. Vindictive is befriending your son's mistress and coaching her on how to replace his wife. Vindictive is spending thousands of dollars of someone else's money on the woman your son is cheating with. The sales associate quietly stepped back from the register. 2 other employees had stopped what they were doing to watch. Several customers were openly staring now. Patricia's face was scarlet. You have no idea what you're talking about. This is my friend from book club. We were just… I held up my phone again. This time showing a screenshot I'd taken weeks ago from Patricia's Facebook. A photo of her and the mistress at a restaurant. The caption reading, "Dinner with my future daughter-in-law," with a heart emoji. The mistress made a small sound, almost a whimper. That post is from 2 months ago, I said. Should I show you the others? There are quite a few. Or maybe I should show you the text messages I found on Garrett's old phone. the one he thought he factory reset but didn't quite do properly. I looked at Patricia, told him that I was too focused on my career to be a good wife. Where you told him he deserved someone who would appreciate him, someone like, I gestured at the mistress. Patricia's hands were fists at her sides. Garrett is my son. I was trying to help him be happy. You're never home. You're always at that office. What kind of wife? What kind of mother helps her son cheat on his wife? I asked quietly. The silence that followed was deafening. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Not sad tears. Angry ones. You can't do this. You can't just cut me off. Garrett will. Garrett will what? I interrupted. Take your side. He probably will. You've always made sure of that. I looked at the mistress. What's your name? I should probably know it since you're wearing a dress my credit card paid for. She whispered something I couldn't hear. Amber, Patricia said, lifting her chin. Her name is Amber. And she's twice the woman you. The credit card is cancelled, I said, cutting her off. Permanently. And the money I've been giving you for rent? That ends at the end of this month. You have 30 days to figure something else out. Patricia's face went from red to purple. You can't. How am I supposed to? Garrett will never let you. This conversation is over. I pulled out my phone again and held it up so they could see it was recording. Everything you just said? I have it. All of it. The admission that you've been helping with the affair. The insults. Everything. I turned and walked toward the exit. Behind me, I heard Patricia's voice rise to a shriek. You'll regret this. Garrett will make sure you regret this. You can't treat his family this way and expect. I didn't hear the rest. I pushed through the glass doors and out into the parking lot. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely get my car keys out of my purse. I sat in my car and watched through the store window. Patricia and Amber were arguing now. Amber's arms were crossed defensively. Patricia was gesturing wildly. The sales associates had called security. My phone buzzed. Then buzzed again. And again. 7 missed calls from Garrett. I started the car and drove straight to Nina's apartment. Nina opened the door before I could knock. She must have been watching from the window. One look at my face, and she pulled me inside. Tell me you did it, she said. I nodded. My hands were still shaking. I did it. I cancelled the card right there in the store, with both of them watching. Good. Nina steered me to her couch and disappeared into the kitchen. She came back with a glass of wine I didn't ask for but definitely needed. Now tell me everything. I did. Every detail. The jewelry counter, the 3 gold rings, the way Patricia had laughed with Amber like they were old friends. The declined card, Patricia's meltdown, the recording on my phone. Nina listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, You know you can stay here as long as you need, right? My spare room is yours. I already moved some of my things here last week, I admitted. Important documents, some clothes, my grandmother's jewelry. I wasn't sure what Garrett might do when everything came out. Smart. Nina pulled out her laptop. Now we need to call a lawyer. Like, right now. Before Garrett has time to do anything stupid. My phone buzzed again. Another call from Garrett. I watched it ring until it went to voicemail. Then the texts started. Mom just called me freaking out. What the hell happened? Why aren't you answering? Call me now. This is insane. You can't just cancel her card without talking to me first. Where are you? You're not at the office. Answer your phone. The messages kept coming. His tone shifted from confused to angry with each one. I showed them to Nina. He's not even denying it, she observed. He's mad at you for embarrassing his mother. My phone rang again. Garrett. I stared at it. You should answer, Nina said. Not because you owe him anything, but because you should hear what he has to say. What excuse he thinks is good enough, I answered. Put it on speaker. Finally, Garrett's voice was sharp. What the hell is going on? Mum called me hysterical. She said you cancelled her card in the middle of a store and humiliated her in front of everyone. Did she mention who she was shopping with? Silence. Then, what does that matter? You gave her that card. You can't just take it back without warning. I can do whatever I want with my credit card, Garrett. It's my account. She was an authorized user. was, "This is so typical of you." His voice rose. "Always about control. Always about the money. You hold it over everyone's head." My mother needed that card. For what? Designer handbags? Jewelry? Spa treatments? I gave her that card for groceries and medicine. She deserves to enjoy her life. She worked hard for 40 years. If she wants to buy herself something nice occasionally, so what? Occasionally? I almost laughed. Garrett, she's spent over $12,000 in 6 months. On my card, that I never asked you about because I was trying to be generous to your mother. More silence. Did she tell you who her shopping partner was? I asked. A friend. Someone from her book club. Her name is Amber. She's 28. She works at your office. And she's wearing your engagement ring. In the photo on your laptop. The one you slammed shut when I walked into the kitchen last week. The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. Then, I need to talk to you in person. So talk. Not over the phone. Where are you? Nina was shaking her head frantically, mouthing the word no. It doesn't matter where I am, I said. If you want to talk, you can explain right now. How long has it been going on? This isn't a conversation for the phone. Then I guess we're not having it. I hung up. Immediately he called back. I declined it. He called again. I turned off my phone. Nina had her laptop open, already typing. Okay. My friend's sister is a divorce lawyer. She's supposed to be really good. I'm emailing her right now. It's 8 o'clock at night. She'll see it in the morning. But we need to move fast. Before Garrett has time to hide assets or do something stupid with your joint accounts. Joint accounts. I hadn't even thought about that. We had a shared checking account where we both deposited money for household expenses. There was usually about $4,000 in it. Garrett had full access. I turned my phone back on and logged into the bank app. The account was still there. $4,216. I transferred it all to my personal account. If Garrett wanted to play games, I wasn't going to make it easy. My phone immediately exploded with notifications. Missed calls, text messages, and now voicemails. I played the first voicemail on speaker. Garrett's voice was different now, harder. You're really doing this? Fine. I'm coming to Nina's. I know that's where you go when you're upset. We need to talk about this like adults. How does he know you're here? Nina asked. I checked my phone settings. Find my phone. I forgot to turn it off. Turn it off now. I did, but it was too late. 20 minutes later, someone pounded on Nina's door. Heavy fists. Aggressive. I know she's in there. Garrett's voice, muffled through the door. Open up. Nina looked at me. I shook my head. Go away, Garrett. Nina called through the door. She doesn't want to talk to you. This is between me and my wife. Stay out of it. Your wife is asking you to leave. More pounding. You can't keep me from talking to her. That's my wife in there. A neighbor's door opened down the hall. An older man poked his head out. Hey, keep it down or I'm calling the cops. Mind your own business, Garrett snapped. I'm calling them. The neighbor disappeared back inside. The pounding stopped. After a moment, Garrett spoke through the door. His voice was calmer now. Controlled. Please, just open the door. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I looked at Nina. She mouthed, don't. But I needed to see his face. Needed to hear him try to explain this. I walked to the door. Just you, I said through the wood. Nina's apartment. Her rules. You don't get to come in here yelling. Fine. Okay. Just let me in. I opened the door. Garrett looked terrible. His hair was messy, his shirt untucked, his eyes were red. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Then I remembered Amber trying on my clothes with my money. Patricia laughing about how I didn't appreciate him. How long? I asked. He ran a hand through his hair. Looked at the floor. Does it matter? Yes. 9 months. 9 months. Almost a year. All those late nights at work. All those site inspections. All those times he came home smelling like perfume I didn't wear and told me it was just from hugging his mother. Why? The word came out smaller than I intended. Garrett laughed. Actually laughed. A bitter, sharp sound. Why? Are you serious? When was the last time you were home for dinner? When was the last time we did anything together that wasn't scheduled 3 weeks in advance? You're married to your job. I just happen to live in the same house. So you cheated. I found someone who actually wants to spend time with me. Someone who doesn't make me feel like I'm interrupting her real life every time I try to talk to her. Someone 28 years old who your mother takes shopping with my money. His face reddened. Mum was just trying to help. She knew I was unhappy. She was being supportive. Supportive. I laughed. And it sounded slightly unhinged even to me. Your mother helped you cheat on me and used my credit card to buy gifts for your mistress. That's not supportive, Garrett. That's calculated. Don't call her that. What? Mistress? That's what she is. Or would you prefer homewrecker? Affair partner? Her name is Amber, and she understands me in ways you never did. Nina made a sound from the couch. Garrett glanced at her, then back at me. Where is she now? I asked suddenly. Amber. Where is she right now? Garrett's face changed. Guilt flickered across it before he could hide it. She's at our house. Isn't she? The realization hit me like cold water. You brought her to our house. It's my house too. Actually, I said quietly. It's not. Garrett's face went blank. What are you talking about? The house. It's in my name. Only my name. I bought it with my signing bonus before we got married. You never contributed to the down payment. The mortgage comes out of my account. Legally, it's mine. I watched understanding dawn on his face. Then disbelief. Then anger. That's not you, can't just we're married. That makes it community property. Actually, in this state, assets owned before marriage remain separate property, unless they're explicitly converted to joint ownership, which we never did. You can check with a lawyer if you want. Nina was grinning from the couch. She already did check. Last week. Garrett's jaw clenched. So what? You're going to kick me out of my own home? I want you and your girlfriend out by noon tomorrow. You can stay at your mother's tonight. Or a hotel. I don't really care. You're insane. He took a step toward me. Not threatening exactly, but aggressive enough that Nina stood up. You can't do this. I'll fight you. I'll make the divorce so expensive and so difficult that you'll wish. You'll wish what? I pulled out my phone and played the recording from the mall. Patricia's voice filled the apartment. Garrett deserves someone who appreciates him. You make him feel like a man. She's always been too focused on her career anyway. Some women just aren't meant to be wives. I've been helping them for months. She has no idea. Stupid cow. I stopped the recording. Garrett's face had gone pale. Your mother admitted on tape that she's been helping you cheat. That's called collusion. It doesn't look good in divorce proceedings, especially when she was doing it while spending my money. You're bluffing. Try me. I met his eyes. I have bank statements showing $12,000 in unauthorized charges. I have photos of your mother and Amber together, going back months. I have text message records. I have everything, Garrett. He stared at me like he was seeing someone he didn't recognize. When did you become so cold? When I found out my husband was cheating on me and his mother was helping. When I realized the person I'd been supporting financially was using that money to facilitate my own betrayal. When did you become someone who could do this? I told you why. You're never there. You care more about your job than your marriage. So you punished me by sleeping with someone else? By bringing her into our home? By letting your mother spend thousands of my dollars on her? I didn't ask Mum to do that. But you didn't stop her either. You let it happen. You let her use me while you... I stopped. Took a breath. Get out. We need to talk about this. Figure out. There's nothing to figure out. I want a divorce. You can agree to it, or we can fight. But either way, I'm done. Garrett's expression shifted. He tried a different approach. Softer, almost pleading. Don't do this. We can fix it. Go to counseling. Work through it. 9 months it's not that long. People come back from worse. Come back from worse? I repeated. Your mother called me a stupid cow while shopping with the woman you're sleeping with. Using my money. You think counseling fixes that? Mum was just upset. She didn't mean. She meant every word. And you know it. You've always known how she felt about me. You just didn't care because it was easier to let her hate me than to defend me. The truth of it hung in the air between us. Nina's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then at me. The lawyer responded. She can see you first thing tomorrow morning. Garrett's face hardened again. Fine. You want to play it this way? We'll play it this way. But don't think this is going to be easy. I know things about you too, about your job, the hours you keep, how you prioritize work over everything else. A judge will hear about all of it. Good luck with that. I opened the door. Now leave. He stood there for another moment, like he was going to say something else. Then he turned and walked out. I closed the door behind him and locked it. Put the chain on. My legs felt weak. I sat down hard on Nina's couch. Did that actually just happen? I asked. That happened. Nina sat beside me. And you were amazing. Seriously. The way you just laid it all out. My phone buzzed. A call from Patricia. I declined it. Immediately she called back. I declined again. Then a text. How dare you treat my son this way? After everything we've done for you. Everything we've welcomed you into our family. This is how you repay us? By destroying his life over one mistake? I showed it to Nina. One mistake? She read aloud. 9 months of lying is not one mistake. That's hundreds of mistakes. Thousands. Another text from Patricia. You'll regret this. Garrett has rights. We have lawyers too. You think you can just throw him out and steal everything? That's not how marriage works. I turned my phone off. I couldn't deal with her tonight. Nina ordered pizza. We ate it sitting on her living room floor, not talking much. Every few minutes, I'd remember something else. A lie Garrett told. A time Patricia made a cutting remark about my career. The way Amber had laughed at the jewelry counter, so comfortable, like she belonged there. Around midnight, my phone turned back on automatically, some setting I'd forgotten about. It immediately started buzzing. Messages, missed calls, voicemails. I checked the bank app first. The $4,000 I'd transferred was still there. Safe. Then I saw an email notification. The sender name made my stomach drop. Clifford. Garrett's father. The subject line read, "You need to see this." I opened it. No text in the body. Just attachments. Screenshots. Lots of them. Text messages between Patricia and Amber. Going back almost a year. My hands shook as I scrolled through them. Patricia. He's working late again. Perfect opportunity for you two. Amber. I feel bad sometimes. She seems nice. Patricia. Nice doesn't make a good wife. Trust me. You're doing him a favor. Another exchange from 6 months ago. Amber. Do you think he'll actually leave her? Patricia. Not yet. She just got that promotion. We need to wait until she gets the next one. Better alimony that way. I couldn't breathe. Nina was reading over my shoulder. Oh my God. More messages. Patricia. Her bonus should hit next month. Make sure G is especially attentive to you around then. We want him checked out of the marriage when the money comes in. Amber. You're sure this will work? Patricia. Trust me. I've been married twice. I know how these things go. The key is timing. The most recent message was from 3 days ago. Patricia. Once the divorce goes through, we'll make sure you're set up properly. The house might be hers, but there are ways around that. G's lawyer friend says we have options. I looked at Nina. She looked back at me. Neither of us said anything for a long moment. They were planning this, I finally said. The whole time. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to use me. For money, Nina added. They wanted you to get promoted so the divorce would be worth more. I scrolled to the bottom of the email. There was a message from Clifford. I found these on Patricia's iPad last week. We share an Apple ID, and I saw the notifications. I've been sick about it ever since. I'm ashamed of my son and my wife. You deserved better than this. You deserved better than all of us. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. If you need this for your lawyer, you have my permission to use it. I'll testify if necessary. I read it 3 times. Garrett's dad is on your side, Nina said quietly. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. Slightly hysterical laughter that turned into something that might have been crying. 9 months of an affair was bad enough. But this was conspiracy. Premeditated. Calculated. And now I had proof. The lawyer's office was on the 14th floor of a glass building downtown. Nina came with me. I'd barely slept, but I felt strangely clear-headed, like I'd been living in fog for months, and someone had finally opened a window. The lawyer's name was Catherine Ross. She was maybe 50. With grey hair she didn't bother to dye, and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She read through Clifford's emails on my phone while I sat across from her desk. "This is extraordinary," she said finally. "In 20 years of practice, I've rarely seen evidence this clear of financial planning around a divorce. Your father-in-law is willing to testify. He said so in the email." "Good." She made notes on a legal pad. "With this, plus the recording from the mall, plus the credit card statements, we have a very strong case. Your husband won't get a cent in alimony. In fact, given the fraud involved with your credit card, we could pursue charges." "I don't want to pursue charges against Patricia," I said. "I just want her out of my life." "Understandable, but we'll keep it as leverage." Catherine leaned back in her chair. "Now tell me about assets. You said the house is in your name only?" I went through everything. The house, purchased before marriage with my signing bonus. The mortgage, paid from my account. My retirement fund. My savings. The joint checking account I'd already emptied. Garrett's truck, which was in his name. His credit card debt. "Credit card debt?" Catherine's eyebrow went up. "I found out about it last night. After I left Nina's apartment, I couldn't sleep, so I started going through our paperwork. He opened a card 6 months ago using our joint tax return to verify income. Never told me about it. It's at $18,000 now." Catherine wrote that down. "What did he spend it on?" "Hotels, restaurants, a weekend trip to Napa, jewelry." I pulled up the statement on my phone. "All dates that match up with the affair. So he used your joint financial information to get credit, then used that credit to fund an affair. That's fraud." The word hung in the air. Fraud. Not just cheating, not just lying. Actual legal fraud. "There's one more thing," I said. "Yesterday, Garrett and Amber went through my house. They took my work laptop, my passport, and some financial documents. The police got them back, but Garrett Factory reset the laptop. Everything was deleted." Catherine's expression darkened. "Company property?" "Yes. My employer provided it. It had proprietary information on it." "Does your employer know?" "I called my boss this morning. He's furious. The IT department is trying to restore it, but Garrett might have broken federal laws regarding corporate data protection." Catherine smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Your husband isn't very smart, is he?" "Apparently not." She stood up. "Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to draft divorce papers today. We'll file tomorrow. We're going to ask for everything: the house, your retirement accounts, your savings. We'll demand reimbursement for the credit card fraud. And we're going to make it very clear that if he fights us, we go public with all of this. The recording, the text messages, the corporate espionage charge his employer could file. Will that work? Depends on how stupid he is. Some men dig in, out of pride. But with evidence this strong, most lawyers would advise him to settle quietly." I left her office, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Nina took me to lunch at a cafe near her apartment. My phone kept buzzing, but I ignored it, until Clifford's name appeared on the screen. "Hello? Can we meet?" His voice was quiet. "Tired. There's more I need to tell you. Things I couldn't put in an email. We met at a diner across town." Clifford looked older than I remembered. There were new lines around his eyes, and his hands shook slightly as he stirred sugar into his coffee. "I should have told you sooner," he said. "Weeks ago. But I was afraid. Patricia, she controls everything. The money, the house, all of it. If I went against her..." "It's okay," I said, though I wasn't sure it was. "It's not okay. You've been good to us. Better than we deserved. You remembered my birthday every year. You helped me set up my email when Patricia said I was too old to learn computers. You treated me like I mattered." His voice cracked. "And I sat there and watched them plan to use you. Tell me what else you know." He did. The full scope of it. How Patricia had introduced Garrett to Amber deliberately, noticed the attraction, and encouraged it. How she'd coached Garrett on hiding the affair, how they'd discussed waiting for my next promotion before filing for divorce because a higher salary meant higher alimony payments. Patricia told Garrett that you'd be so focused on your career you wouldn't even notice him pulling away, Clifford said. She said ambitious women like you were easy to cheat on because you were too busy to pay attention. The words stung, even though I knew they came from Patricia, not him. There's something else, Clifford continued. Patricia has been talking to a lawyer friend of hers, someone from her church. They've been discussing ways to claim you owe her support payments after the divorce, for all the years you promised to help with her expenses. I never promised anything. I know. But she's been building a case, saving your texts, keeping records of every deposit. She thinks she can argue you created a verbal contract to support her. I thought about Catherine's sharp eyes and legal pads full of notes. Let her try. Clifford reached across the table and put his hand over mine. I'm sorry. For all of it. You deserved so much better than what my family gave you. You're giving me the truth now. That's something. It's not enough, but it's what I have. He pulled his hand back. I'm leaving her. Patricia, I've already talked to a lawyer about a separation. After 40 years, I'm done. I didn't know what to say to that. I'm moving in with my daughter, from my first marriage. She lives 2 hours away. I should have done it years ago. He finished his coffee. But I wanted you to know everything first. So you'd have all the ammunition you need. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he pulled a USB drive from his pocket and slid it across the table. Everything's on here. Screenshots going back 14 months, photos, even some voice memos Patricia recorded of her conversations with Garrett about the affair. She thought she was being clever, keeping records in case she needed them. Never occurred to her they might be used against her. I took the drive. It felt heavier than it should. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me. I should have stopped this before it started. He stood up, put money on the table for both our meals. But for what it's worth, I think you're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're stronger than any of them ever gave you credit for. He left. I sat there with the USB drive in my hand, watching people come and go through the diner's glass doors, normal people having normal days. Not people whose marriages were being dissected in lawyers' offices. Not people whose mother-in-law had plotted against them for money. My phone buzzed. A text from Garrett's lawyer. My client would like to discuss settlement terms. Are you available for a meeting tomorrow? I forwarded it to Catherine. Her response came back within seconds. Perfect. Let's destroy him. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. When I woke up in Nina's spare room, sunlight was streaming through the curtains, and I could hear her making coffee in the kitchen. My phone had 17 new messages. I ignored all of them except one from Catherine confirming our meeting with Garrett's lawyer at 2 o'clock. Nina drove me. You want me to come in with you? She asked as we pulled into the parking garage. No. But wait for me? I might need a drink after. I'll be at that coffee shop across the street. Catherine met me in the lobby. She was carrying a leather briefcase that looked expensive and permanent, like it had been to 1,000 meetings just like this one. Ready? Ready. The conference room was on the 16th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Garrett was already there with his lawyer, a man in his 50s with thinning hair and a cheap suit. Patricia sat beside Garrett, even though nobody had invited her. Amber was nowhere to be seen. Garrett looked awful. His eyes were bloodshot, his shirt wrinkled. Patricia looked furious. Catherine set her briefcase on the table with a decisive thump. Let's get started. Garrett's lawyer cleared his throat. My client is prepared to offer a fair and amicable settlement. He'll agree to divorce on grounds of irreconcilable differences. No alimony on either side. Assets split 50-50. He thinks this is more than generous given. No, Catherine said. The lawyer blinked. Excuse me, your client isn't in a position to offer anything. He's in a position to accept what we're willing to give him, which is very little. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. Let's start with fraud. Your client used joint tax returns to obtain a credit card without informing my client. He then spent $18,000 on that card funding an extramarital affair. She slid copies of the credit card statement across the table. Garrett's lawyer picked it up, scanned it, and his face went pale. Then we have corporate data destruction. Catherine produced another document. Your client wiped a company-owned laptop containing proprietary information. My client's employer is considering federal charges under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. That was an accident, Garrett said, his voice weak. Factory resetting a laptop is not an accident. It's intentional destruction of data. Catherine didn't even look at him. She kept her eyes on his lawyer. Then we have the credit card fraud perpetrated by your client's mother, with your client's knowledge and cooperation. She slid the mall recording transcript across the table. Patricia snatched it up, read the first page, and went white. This is illegal. You can't record people without their consent. Actually, this state only requires one-party consent for recordings. My client was that party. Catherine smiled. Now, the interesting part. She pulled out printouts of the text messages from Clifford's email. Page after page of Patricia and Amber discussing strategy, timing, money. Planning the affair like a business transaction. Garrett's lawyer read them with an expression that shifted from confused to horrified. He looked at Garrett. Did you know about this? Garrett opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Whether he knew or not is irrelevant, Catherine continued. What matters is that there was a deliberate, calculated plan to manipulate my client financially while conducting an affair. That's not a marriage breakdown. That's fraud, conspiracy, and possibly extortion. Depending on how creative the prosecutor wants to be. Patricia stood up. This is outrageous. You can't, we were just... She looked at Garrett. Say something. Garrett was staring at the text messages like he'd never seen them before. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe Patricia had kept him, just ignorant enough to use him. Here's what's going to happen, Catherine said. My client keeps the house, her retirement accounts, her savings. Everything that's in her name stays in her name. Your client gets his truck and his credit card debt. No alimony, no support. We split the joint checking account. Oh, wait. My client already withdrew that. So your client gets nothing from that either. That's not fair, Patricia said. Garrett has rights. He's entitled to whatever a judge decides after hearing about his 9-month affair, his mother's involvement, and his destruction of corporate property. Catherine cut her off. Would you like to try your luck with a judge? Because I would love to put you on the stand, Mrs. Patterson. I have so many questions about those text messages. Patricia sat down hard. Garrett's lawyer set down the papers. He looked defeated already. Can we have a moment to discuss this privately? Take all the time you need. Catherine stood. We'll be outside. In the hallway. I leaned against the wall. My heart was pounding, but not from fear, from something else. Something that felt like justice. That went well, Catherine said. You think they'll accept? His lawyer would be insane not to. They have no leverage, no case, nothing. She checked her watch. Give them 10 minutes to panic, then we'll go back in. It took 8 minutes. Garrett's lawyer opened the door and gestured us back inside. Garrett looked broken. Patricia looked like she wanted to set something on fire. But they were both quiet. My client accepts your terms, the lawyer said quietly. With one request. Can we keep this out of court? File jointly, uncontested divorce, no public record of the reasons. I looked at Catherine. She looked at me. Yes, I said. On one condition, Patricia never contacts me again. No calls, no texts, no emails, no social media. Complete silence. If she breaks that, everything goes public. Patricia's lips pressed into a thin line, but she nodded. And Garrett pays for the laptop restoration out of his own pocket, whatever it costs. Agreed, his lawyer said quickly. Catherine pulled out papers she'd already prepared. Sign here, and here. Initial here. Garrett signed without reading. His hand shook so badly, the signature was barely legible. It was over in 15 minutes. 3 years of marriage, dissolved with signatures and legal language. I walked out of that conference room and felt nothing. No sadness, no relief, just nothing. Nina was waiting at the coffee shop like she promised. She took one look at my face and hugged me without asking questions. It's done, I said into her shoulder. Good. Now what? Now I figure out what comes next. 2 weeks later, I was back at work when my boss called me into his office. I thought maybe it was about the laptop situation. But instead he told me about a position opening at headquarters. Denver. Senior director level. Significant pay increase. You'd be perfect for it, he said. But I understand if you want to stay here, especially with everything going on. I thought about the house that suddenly felt too big and too full of memories. I thought about running into Garrett at the grocery store, or Patricia at the mall. I thought about staying in a city that reminded me of 3 years I'd spent trying to make something work that was broken from the start. When would I start? I asked. 6 weeks later, I handed the keys to my house to a real estate agent. It sold in 4 days for $20,000 over asking. Young couple, their first home. They were so excited. I was happy for them. Nina helped me pack. We filled boxes and labeled them, and she cried even though I didn't. You have to visit, she said. Like once a month. I'm not joking. Once a month might be excessive. Once a month is the minimum. I'm going to hold you to it, I promised. Clifford came by the day before I left. He brought me a plant, a small succulent in a ceramic pot. For your new place, he said. Something that doesn't need much taking care of. Like you. I laughed and hugged him. Thank you. For everything. You'll do great out there. Better than great. He handed me a piece of paper with his daughter's phone number on it. If you're ever in trouble, if you ever need anything, she knows everything and she'll help. I folded it carefully and put it in my wallet. The divorce was finalized 3 days after I moved to Denver. The papers came via email. I signed them electronically and sent them back. Just like that, it was legal, official, over. My new apartment had floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the mountains. I set up Clifford's succulent on the windowsill and watched the sun set behind the peaks, painting everything gold and orange and purple. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Is this her? The ex-wife? My stomach dropped. Then I saw the next message. This is Amber. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I needed to tell you something. Garrett and I broke up. His mum is living with him now, and it's awful. They fight constantly. She controls everything. I finally understand what you went through. I'm sorry for all of it. You deserved better. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it without responding. She was right, I didn't want to hear from her. But she was also right about something else. I did deserve better. Nina flew out 2 weeks later. We explored Denver, hiked in the mountains, ate at restaurants with views that made you forget your problems. On her last night, we sat on my balcony with wine and watched the city lights come on like stars. You seem different, she said. Lighter. I feel different. Good different? Yeah. Good different. She clinked her glass against mine. To new beginnings. To new beginnings. A month later, I went on my first date since the divorce. His name was Thomas. He worked in marketing, and he made me laugh without trying too hard. It wasn't serious. Maybe it wouldn't become serious, but it was nice, easy, uncomplicated. 3 months after that, I got another promotion. Director of Financial Strategy. Corner office. My own assistant. Everything Patricia had wanted me to wait for, I achieved without her son dragging me down. I thought about texting Garrett to tell him. Then I remembered I'd blocked his number and deleted every photo we'd ever taken together. I didn't need him to know. I didn't need any of them to know. 6 months into my new life, I was in a meeting when my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown Denver number. I ignored it. They left a voicemail. During my lunch break, I listened to it. Hi, this is Officer Chen with Denver PD. We recovered some stolen property in a recent arrest and found documentation with your name on it. Could you call us back to identify it? I called back, confused. The officer explained that they'd arrested someone for identity theft and found a box of documents with various names. Mine was among them. What kind of documents? Looks like old financial records. Copies of tax returns. Bank statements. From about 2 years ago. Does that sound familiar? My blood went cold. My ex-husband had access to those. Can you come down to the station? We'd like to ask you some questions. It turned out Garrett had been selling information to identity thieves. Not just mine, other people's too. People from his construction company. Clients. Even Patricia's information had been in the box. He'd been desperate for money after the divorce. The credit card debt, the truck payments, supporting his mother. He'd made bad choices that turned into criminal choices. He was arrested 3 weeks later, charged with identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy. Patricia called me 17 times. I didn't answer any of them, but I did call Clifford. He answered on the first ring. "I heard," he said. His voice sounded older. "Tired. I don't even know what to say anymore." "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted to make sure you were okay." "I'm okay. Better now that I'm away from all of it." He paused. "Patricia asked me to call you, to ask if you'd help with Garrett's legal fees." I almost laughed. "What did you tell her?" "I told her no, that she'd burned that bridge long ago and I wasn't going to help her rebuild it." Another pause. "She's not taking it well. That's not my problem anymore." "No, it's not." He sounded relieved. "How are you doing?" "Really?" I looked around my office. At the diplomas on the wall, the photos of me and Nina on hiking trips, the succulent that had somehow not died despite my neglect. "I'm good, Clifford. I'm really good." "I'm glad. You deserve to be." We talked for a few more minutes about nothing important. When we hung up, I felt something click into place. The final piece of the old life, acknowledged and released. That night, I went out with co-workers for drinks. We talked about work and weekend plans and someone's terrible dating app experience. Normal things. Easy things. Walking home through downtown Denver, past restaurants and theaters, and people living their lives, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Garrett, not at Patricia, not even at Amber. They'd all made their choices and faced their consequences. And I'd made mine. I'd chosen to leave. To start over. To build something new from the wreckage of something old. I'd chosen myself. My phone buzzed. A text from Nina. "Random thought, but I'm proud of you." "Okay, bye." I smiled and texted back. "Love you too." The mountains were dark silhouettes against the purple sky. My apartment building was 2 blocks away, lit up and welcoming. Tomorrow I had a presentation to give, a team meeting to lead, a life to continue building. But tonight, I just walked, taking my time, breathing the cool mountain air, feeling grateful for the courage it took to press that button in the mall, to cancel that card, to stand up for myself when everything in me wanted to stay small and quiet and accommodating. I thought about the woman I'd been, the one who tried so hard to be enough for people who would never think she was. And I thought about the woman I was becoming, the one who knew her worth and refused to settle for less. They were both me, but only one of them was free. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. Home. Not the house I'd bought to impress a man who didn't appreciate it. Not a spare room in a friend's apartment. Mine. Built by me. For me. With no apologies. I poured a glass of wine, opened my laptop, and started looking at flights to visit Nina next month. Life was good. Not perfect. Perfect was overrated anyway. But good. Real. Mine. And that was more than enough.